After these deliberations between the farmers and the union government, I want to go across live to the Singhu border. Joining us from there is our correspondent Maushmi Singh. Also with us at this time from Vigyan Bhavan, where this meeting took place, is Rahul Srivastav. Maushmi, to you first. Give our viewers a sense of how the farmers have gone back from this meeting. What's their takeaway? Do they see any hope of resolution? Are they confident that when the second meeting happens on the 3rd of December, there could be a breakthrough? Or are they just in a zone where they want this agitation to escalate from here?
Rahul, well, the cold is growing, and if you see that there is no thaw in the relation or the standoff between the farmers and the centre, and that's also has a ripple effect on ground zero, where we are stationed at the Singhu border. Continuous announcements, statements being made about the arrogant attitude of the Modi government. But yes, there has been a step forward, is what the leaders believe. And tomorrow, when they go out with the list of problems they have with this bill, there will be a thought that they will be putting into saying that if the government would have done wider consultation, then perhaps this problem would have not arisen. Importantly, the 3rd is the date that the farmers would actually be looking at. But till then, one thing is for sure, that the farmers anticipated that this is going to be a long overhaul, and that's one reason they've come with all the preparedness. What we see is also the preparedness. Behind me you can see a lot of heavy security presence, and that really means that till this standoff is over, there is a tit for tat. Perhaps the statements will continue, and the strength of the farmers will continue to grow. That intent would mount pressure on the 3rd on the government as well.
Srivastava, we now have a very explosive situation building, because on the one side you've got the Congress government in Punjab raising apprehension of how anti-social elements are joining the protesters. The government in Haryana has also voiced the same fear, and you've got the protesters refusing to accept the government's suggestions. Give us your best sense, after having spoken to everyone that you have after this meeting, of what the government's offer was. How did the farmer representatives respond, and is there any possibility of a breakthrough from here?
Rahul, two extremely entrenched, divergent positions went inside this meeting at 3 o'clock in the afternoon today. Now, the farmers were very clear that they want rollback. The government was very clear that it's been stating for a very long time that the bills are win-win as far as the farmers and the country are concerned. The first sign of thaw definitely was that the farmer union said that yes, we are ready for talks with the government, because earlier they wanted unconditional talks. The government also stepped back a bit, because initially it was saying till farmers who are protesting go to Burari, the protest ground designated, there will be no talks. With this background, when they went inside, the government made a presentation. Largely the presentation was ticking all the points raised by the farmers on MSP, the mandis, the APMC system, and how the farmers will not be disadvantaged as far as these free farm bills are concerned. When the farmers very clearly said, and the farm union leaders said that they want a rollback, the government was saying that it is not a demand on which we want to talk. So then the government said that since the government actually wanted the engagement to continue, did not want the talks to collapse, the government proposed that instead of having a large group of 35 leaders coming in with 3 ministers from the government and officials, instead there can be a slightly more cohesive, smaller group. And in that, there was a suggestion that government representatives, minister, union leaders and experts can be part of the panel. In fact, the farmers then said that we are the best experts possible as far as agriculture is concerned. We know better than any expert in this country. They also told the government that any committee is actually an attempt to dilute the protest and delay the proceedings, and just to win time as far as the government is concerned. And it was after protracted discussions on several points, it seemed that there was no point of convergence. But the positive was that eventually the farmers and the unions and the government agreed for a second round of talk. That means there is likelihood of no insta fix as far as this issue is concerned. Now, the biggest problem is that both the sides have actually gone too far pushing their stance. The farmers have unions have brought a large number of farmers to Delhi saying that nothing but a rollback, they will go back without. On the other hand, the government has gone too far claiming that the bills are good for the public. The Prime Minister, in fact, making a very emotive appeal yesterday from the ghats of Ganga River in Varanasi. In that scenario, it's very difficult for the farmers to go back and say that we are going to agree to anything lesser than a rollback. So the government has to offer what can be a face-saving exit, if possible, as far as the farm unions are concerned. What that can be, that's difficult to arrive, because MSP putting it in the statute is a very difficult proposition, because if 23 commodities are covered by MSP today, there will be demands tomorrow that add more commodities to it. Why should other farm produce not be part of the MSP regime? Then if there is a surplus someday of agriculture produces, in that scenario, the private sector may not honor the MSP. So the government is caught in a bound. The farm unions have their own compulsions. How they resolve and create a common ground is a very, very tricky job. But I think the onus eventually is on the government, how it gives the farm unions a face-saving exit out of the current impasse.
Okay, so we know for a fact that the government's been working the telephone line 24/7, reaching out, not just in the pictures that you see on your screen, but behind the scenes to all influential players to try and get the farmers to call off their protests. So far, there has been no headway, and there is talk of farmers from Maharashtra, Uttar Pradesh, Karnataka potentially joining these protests unless a solution is found. Joining